So well, as we have already gone through this story, right? What was the case? The Mr. Y was in the orientation of a general communication, and Mr. X was in the orientation of a technical communication. This disparity, this confusion. A man with an orientation of technical communication discussing with the orientation of a general communication, there will be always confusion, right? So general communication is what? In the day-to-day life, you interact with your friends, peer members, family members, right? Not with a professional orientation, with a professional purpose and objectives, right? So technical communication has a specific features, right? You need to use easy words, clear sentence, moderate length of the sentence should be there, and obviously you will have to make sure that you use active voice while you create sentences. Avoid redundant phrases, inaccurate expressions, logical and divisions of paragraph is to be made while you write or whether you speak. Fine. This is general communication and technical communication. There are many questions that you might have received in the PPT, and go through them, try to solve them, and obviously you will be mastering them. Obviously, I will be talking about the references at the last of the my presentation. So now, what is the other component? I have already discussed about models. Two models, basic models I have discussed. What was those two models? One was your LSRW, another was processor communication. And these processor communication and LSRW once mastered, obviously what happens? Hey, you're going on the right track. Now you have to understand how to hold on the beaker. Now you have a very clear idea that litmus paper, how to insert litmus paper, not instantly directly dipping the litmus paper. There is the process, there is a method, right? So now the third very important concept that I am going to deal right now is language. Hey, come on, can you imagine if there won't have been any language skills in human? Imagine a situation where we were in the early stage of development, living in jungles. There were immense amount of emotion amongst the individuals, and they felt like discussing, sharing with the near and dear ones. And what was the case? The only development at that point of time was sound. How they planned the hunting? They used to create different kinds of sound to give signals to the other fellow mates to be aware about the coming animal, how to hunt, right? So sounds were the initial stages where they tried to communicate. The initial stage of language was sound, and then gradually they accepted language was not natural. No God, no Almighty has created language, right? It is all the outcome of human efforts. And what is the case if I switch to present day mode? What is the case today? Every 10 kilometers if you move, there is a variation of language as far as India is concerned. Variation in eating, culture, dressing sense, fooding sense, living style, tradition, culture, everything varies the moment you move across in any dimension 10 kilometers. Now in such a case where so many dialects are there, when there are so many serials are there, these are the kinds of languages that are spoken for different purposes and objectives. What would be the case? So we are lucky, especially being a future engineer, you are lucky that there is a lingua franca. What is this lingua franca? Obviously English, the global language. These Western people who really created pioneer benchmarks in the technological field had accepted English. So maximum researches are in English. All, whether you talk about CS, whether you talk about EC, whether you talk about EE, whether you talk about ME or any engineering field for that matters, that their field of innovation, their advancement are in English. And unless and until you know this language, then what would happen? Your knowledge development won't take place. You won't be able to understand what is going on. So, how language play? I have made it very clear. It had a developmental phases, right? And how it developed from plain sound to acceptance of creation of words. What happens? If you say, like, let me take an example of Indian regional languages. If you say in Bengali, I'm Jol Khabo, and the same thing if you repeat in the northern part of India, what happens? Jol Khabo? How can one eat water? Right? If I step down to Hindi, हम पानी पीते हैं. This is also language, right? हम पीते हैं, and then they say Jol Khabo. There is again a confusion if you are not aware about the other languages. Sorry, I take the liberty if you are broad-minded. Yes, if you moved on to Andhra, Telugu. I was there. My schooling, basic schoolings were from South India, and whenever we used to reach to our neighbors, they used to say Randi Kuchandi. Randi Kuchandi, and if the same words I spoken in North India, what will happen? You will be shocked. You will start fighting. And what is the literal meaning of this word? मेहमान है आप मेजबान है, आप आइए, आप तशरीफ रखिए. Hey, there are so many variation in the way, the meaning of the same word in different contexts, So you must know what is the meaning associated with the different words created in any given language. So how language functions? We will be discussing language and its development, language definition, language and its different dimension, language and its characteristics, language is a tool of communication. Now, as I have already said that it had different developmental phases. As what the different need arose in human being, they started creating different words, and those different words were, what happened in Indian case. In India, we had the mode of transmission of knowledge from one people to another people through speaking. We never had the concept of writing. If you remember, if you talk to your grandfather, grandmother, they often say that my father used to say stories, my grandfather used to say stories, and through that culture transmitted. But in Western world, everything was documented. Everything was kept in as it is, right? So, the moment different needs were there, as per the needs, different words were created, as per the words, the different situations were created, they were documented, and now, when you come across a word, you cannot associate a new meaning to the word. The word has only that meaning that the word has been associated with the person who created those words. What is the case? Every word has a two meaning. Let me take an example. If I write a sentence, just mark it. This is a tree, and your personality resembles as a tree. These are two sentences. I have used one specific word and I am trying to show how meaning varies, In the first case, this is a tree. The moment anyone listens that, what will he infer and how his brain will function? Straight away, listening to it, straight away his mind will reach the object. Okay, tree, okay, right. I have seen a huge structure, fine. And the moment I say, your personality resembles like a tree, you will be puzzled. Hey, am I huge? What kind of sentence is this? Do I have leaves, branches? No, this sentence is right. The only difference between the first sentence and the second sentence uses of tree is, in this, it is denotative. The use of the word is in the sense of the concept denotative. It is denoting a particular object. Whereas in the second case, the theory used is connotative. Connotative means it is not referring to the object but referring to the features of the object. Right? Language has lots of complexity, as I have already mentioned. And if you are not aware about this complexity, hey, what would happen? What in the same case as the story happened? You will start imagining, you will start interpreting, you will be fear because you don't know. Right? So, you have to know the different these concepts, and gradually we will be unfolding different concepts what and how it would be done in the upcoming years, right? So language definition, if I try to define language, a system of conventional spoken, manual, signed or written symbols by means of which human beings as a member of social group and participant in its culture express themselves. Hey, do you remember when there is a generator or if there is some kind of transformer, and what kind of language is used there? There would be a skull, picture of a skull, and there would be a cross. There is a symbol used, right? And that is self-sufficient. You do not have to write down there. It is a danger spot. Whosoever goes to that picture where there is a skull and a red cross, everyone will be inferring, yes, if you go there, even our skulls won't be remaining. It will be burned. That symbol itself, what happens in traffic light? You know, walking a posture of a particular human being and standing posture, you know, that is self-sufficient. So even we communicate in symbols, signs, color, right? What if I take the liberty of taking the chance to talk about Valentine's Day? Every day has a significance. Every day has the significance of a kind of rose and the color of rose you provide. Fine. So through color we speak, through symbols we speak, through signs we speak. Right? If you move down to any unknown terrain where the person speaks another language, you start talking in symbols. You know, if you need water, glass of water, how do you speak? You speak like, hey, can you give me, in whatever language you use, can you give me? Because you know, you won't be understanding your language. You start using symbols, sign, color. Fine. So language can be spoken, mastered. It's not only one thing. What used to be the case earlier? The earlier lecture used to be completely packed up. No PPT, no videos, nothing like that. But the gradual innovation, creation, and then the development in the lecture, what happened? We have started using PPT. And hey, you are going to watch my video recording. It's again an advancement. So there are many tools, instruments, methods, theories, concepts, techniques. If you do not master all these techniques, theory, concepts, methods, then what would happen? You won't be able to really achieve the target, the results that you have targeted. Fine. So language, as I have already said, there are different dimensions of language. It can be colloquial language, serial language, dialects, jargon, lingua franca. I have already mentioned. English happens to be a lingua franca, right? Because it has been globally accepted. People feel like learning this language because security is there, survival is there, your future is there. You know, obviously, you know, if you are there in this societal world, you need money, right? And how would you get money if you are not having a proper job? And for getting a proper job, you need to have proper knowledge. And from getting a proper knowledge, how would you get proper knowledge unless until you know this language? Because all the knowledge exists in English. Hey man, you have to learn this language. So next thing is, let me talk about the language and its characteristics. So language and the characteristics, you know. Language is artificial, as I have already said. No God has created any language. It was we human beings in our ancestors who gradually, as per the needs, created different words. Consider, let me take an example. Consider if our ancestor would have said a name given to the river was mountain. Let me take, it will sound better if I use Hindi word. अगर मैं कहूँ कि हमारे पूर्वजों ने नदी को पहाड़ का नाम दिया होता तो हम आज क्या कहते? देखो कितना मधुर सीन है, पहाड़ बह रही है. We speak mountain to a particular object, we speak river to a particular thing just because not we have assigned the meaning. Word doesn't have any meaning in it. We have given meaning to it. Fine? Word doesn't have meaning in it. We give meaning to it, right? So for that you have to understand. For that we have to understand that meanings are created by human beings. So they are artificial, abstract. What happens while you summarize? What happens while you try to, give a gist of a particular whole story? You have to be abstract. 5-page story, if it is to be talked in 2 minutes. So the language here that you'll be using will be at the level of abstract, right? So at the level of abstract, if you're using a language, obviously the skills, the theory, the concept, the method, the techniques will be different. It won't be the same. Arbitrary. Arbitrary, as I have already said, that the word in isolation doesn't mean anything. It is the meaning we associate, as in the case of Bengali people saying Jol Khabo, and as in the case of Andhra Pradesh speaking in a different tone, different meaning to the same word. So they don't have any meaning to it. Creative. Can you imagine? Netiquette. There was a new term recently found, netiquette. Etiquette on nets. 5 or 10 years back, have you ever heard this word? 100 years back, did you heard a computer the word? No. It was created, you know. Now and then, every now and then dictionaries again added on different words as per the requirement and need, right? So well, it is created. You have to know these characteristics, because with the help of creation you can add on many words as per the requirement. Why? Why? Because this brain, human brain, is unexplored. Immense possibility still there is there in the brain, still there. And if you're thinking new ideas, new names are to be given, new words are to be created. If you are not giving new words, new name, how will you associate with that idea which has been never thought? Mobile phone, mobile cell, they were not existing. It was created as per the requirement. Repetitiveness. What happens repetitive? You might have been observing. I have repeated about the story many a times. Why? Just to reconnect my concepts, so that you will be emphasized. You will understand the importance of it, and there should be a complete synchronization, link, sequencing. If every speaking skills doesn't have a sequence and correlation amongst the statement made, then what happens? Confusions will be there. You won't be able to understand what the other person is trying to say, because there won't be any link in between the statements. Recursiveness. What is recursive? Hey, if you go through the William Shakespeare different drama, one sentence is of one page. There are times you have to create lengthy sentences. Why? If you do not create that, there won't be any clarity. So clarity for clarity, you have to create lengthy sentences, and which will obviously give more and more clarity to it. Then coming down to the restrictiveness. What is this restrictive? If I ask you to say how you feel while you sleep in the lap of your mother, hey, you'll start your speech in the early in the morning. At the end of the day, if I say, are you done? You'll say, no. There's still more things that I feel like speaking. And days on, you all will keep on speaking, and still you won't feel like I'm done. Why? Because there is still limitation of the language. Why? As I've already said, the immense possibility of innovation, immense possibility of creation, immense possibility of emotion of human being has not yet been explored. So the exploration is on, and so that's the reason still we think human has not been discovered. Human being, as far as their thoughts, as far as their capabilities, as far as their results, has not been discovered. So as new discovery comes, we'll make changes in the language, we'll make the necessary changes. With those changes, if inculcated, added on in the language, then language will develop. So language is always developing. It's a dynamic mode. You cannot say that language has been done. Fine. So you have to understand that mastering the three concepts. Let me sum up by saying you must know the process of communication. You must know the LSRW. You must know language. If you know these three things, you know what happens? You will be the best communicator. The communicator will influence Mahatma Gandhi. The communicator will influence Barack Obama. The communicator would influence, let me use the last name, our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. There are different people. I'm not here political. I'm not trying to be political. You may be having different opinions about different political parties, I'm not here to market anyone. I'm just saying about the speaking skills, you know, the way they communicate. People get attracted, people get, you know, merged in that, right? So thank you, thanks a lot. Have a nice day.